So, hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Aisha Always TV for one, where we host Lux Avenue, the podcast. Tonight, I have a special guest. Well, before I even get into that, let me let y'all know first of all, if you are new here, thank you for tuning in for one. Also, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Um, might as well be family at this point. Then make sure you like this video and mm, share it with everyone you have in your contact list. And if you're new, I know you're probably thinking, well, Aisha, what is Lux Avenue the podcast? Like, what are we talking about here? Lux Avenue the podcast has absolutely nothing to do with monetary things, materialistic things, or anything of that nature. It pretty much is just living our lives to the best of our God given ability, right? Because that's the true luxury to me. Why would I not want what God has for me? So, this is an avenue of how we do that, which is taking care of our mental health through whatever area of influence that you may serve in or whatnot. So, for this season or this series of this season, we are talking about mental health in music and ministry, right? So, back to the special guest. I have a special guest. You guys, I'm gonna let him tell more of his story and kind of introduce himself to you guys. But this man, he just released a single. What was it? Last week? This past week?
Yeah,
Um,
last
and
Friday.
yeah, it heat. Okay, heat. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself. I'm gonna bring on Montez, aka Just Tez. Listen, come on here.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Montez. I'm the founder of Infinite Grace TV, Infinite Grace, just in general. Um, wow. So I'm just going to describe myself in adjectives. I guess I'm a creator.
Yeah.
That really describes everything that I do. Really, under that banner, I make music. I have my own podcast, Infinite Grace TV, which it should will definitely be on real soon. So definitely be on the lookout for that one for sure. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. In that way, I just utilize all the platforms and all my gifts and talents to spread for the glory of God.
Dope, dope. So again, first of all, didn't know you were all these things, so that's definitely dope. Like as far as the music aspect goes, so like can you kind of tell us how you got into the music world? Like how did we get here?
Yeah, so I never wanted to be a rapper. Like I actually grew up wanting to be an R&B singer, but after a
Oh,
while, like after my voice really went deep on me and I didn't have the training, I was like, yeah, my singing is not it. I can probably sing like within a group or but as far as like solo and everything, I can't sing. But then again, I still do have music where I am singing. But nevertheless, I didn't grow up on rap music. I didn't want to be a rapper when I was a kid. Until college. I was at a Bible college in Louisville, Kentucky, and my roommates and I were few of the black people on campus, and so we just did these rap battles, and we were always like talking about food and everything. I was like, man, I actually got a little talent. Let me start writing stuff. So it started off just as like poetry, and then I was like, let me see if I can find beats to match these things, and I did it kind of backwards, right? You're supposed to find the beat and then but nevertheless,
right.
I started doing it, and one of the guys I kind of became cool with was like, bro, you like rap? And I was literally like, wow, because I'm black. He was like, low key. But nevertheless, that was the biggest blessing ever. He brought me to his dorm and showed me beats. And literally from there, I just started writing. I released my first single. Man, it was probably 2017, maybe, on SoundCloud. I do not recommend going to listen to it because I don't remember how it
Right.
sounds. Oh
Listen,
man,
you
I've
gotta
come a
advertise
long
your stuff now. Come
way.
on.
I've come a long way. It's kind of more cringe, right? It's like, ooh, wee. But nevertheless, my first single that I've released since then, and I've been featuring in some music, was like you said last Friday. That was the first time I released a single for myself
Yeah.
in a while. So yeah,
Dope, dope. And we'll get into that in just a second because I want the people definitely to support you in that. Um,
absolutely.
I'm telling y'all, it's fire. It's fire. I already added you to the playlist, so
Come on, I love it. I love it.
yes. So again, this series within this season, we're talking about how or mental health in music and ministry, right? So can you kind of walk us down, what you're comfortable with sharing, of course, kind of how music has helped you, or just being in ministry and music, how that affects you with mental health? Like, what does that do for you?
Yeah, you always hear people say, "Man, journaling, journaling, journal, right? Make sure
Mhm.
you're praying, make sure you're writing out." And to be quite honest, like music for me has become my journal. Like I share some of my most authentic things through my music, and it's easy just to put a whole bunch of words together and make it sound good, but it's so
Right.
hard to be your most authentic self and creative at that through music. I know we'll talk a little bit about more about my single, but like that is a prime example of kind of um how I share my heart and the things that are going on through my mind and the things I may be wrestling through. It's a way for me to lament in a sense. And then also you
Mhm.
have those songs that are hype and I'm talking a whole bunch of crap. That's also a way for me to talk, but
Yeah.
overall it's really music became just a journal for me. I know that some of the people who are the most talented creatives in the music scene, they wrote a lot of their most hits like when they were low. And so for me, I was just like, well, if they can do it, well, let me go ahead and put pen to a paper or finger to a phone and
Wow.
you know
Yeah.
make it happen. So yeah, that it just really became something where I was like, man, I can glorify the Lord through this. I can also bring about awareness of like mental health, right? Because that plays a huge role into my life and everything that I do through my music. But at the same time, I can make something that just sounds really good.
Definitely. And I'm telling y'all, when we get to him introducing the single to y'all, it's fire. Okay. Okay. So that's really dope. I know in the past episode, one of my guests, she was saying that God had her writing songs and everything that were for her, but not in that particular season. I caught, I was like, you were prophetically writing basically,
Yeah.
like writing for a season that you were going to experience, but that you weren't experiencing yet. So with that, like, have you ever been in a space where, or had the opportunity to kind of write something that you felt like was for somebody else, or yeah, that you felt like that was for somebody else, but it kind of ended up being for you later on down the line too? Like, have you ever done that?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a lot of like unreleased music. So I actually
Mhm.
wrote a few worship songs. And again, I'm not a singer. So I'm like, yeah, this is definitely not for me to record or sing. But I wrote it for the person and I remember because some of the first words that came to my mouth like just brought tears to my eyes. And I was literally driving to get breadsticks from Kilroy's and I heard this worship song. I heard the worship beat, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness!" And I knew that what I had just produced wasn't for me, even to use in a practical sense, but it was for someone else to use and
Yeah.
for them to make that happen. And so, whenever that person comes along, I'm gonna be like, "No, hey, I have something for you." And I'm gonna give that to them, and I hope that in that season, like they can not only relate to it from an experiential part, but they can also be like, man, this is exactly what I needed to launch some things for me.
Definitely, definitely. Man, even like I used to write. I'm like you. I kind of started with poetry first. Now I can't rap or nothing like that. I can do a one, mic check 1, 2, 3, but
Facts.
I'm not a rapper or anything like that. I sing a little bit, just a piece, just a
Come on.
piece.
Rap.
But
I know you sing more.
I started with poetry. My poetry style was more of, I was in high school, so it was
Hmm.
like puppy love type stuff, and just kind of the emotions behind that type of thing. But then as I started getting closer to Christ, I started transforming my pen work to more, relationship with Him type stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got into writing actual music. Not really in the style of what you would consider gospel now, or even back then, and more of like the R&B feel, but with Christian background. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Hmm.
So yeah, it was. Yeah. Um. So with all that being said, when you're, because you, like you said, you're a minister as well, right?
Hmm.
So
Indeed.
how do, or how does being a minister, being, in that light basically, or having that responsibility, how does that affect you when you're having to minister to somebody else while, going through your own personal things?
Wow. So like part of my story, and I know we may go there a tad bit, but um, I attempted that, right? Like
Mm,
as I was unpacking a lot of my own wounds and trauma, I attempted to pour out into others, and it almost it ruined me pretty much for a season. Like it burnt me out, so much so, to the degree where like I began to act out and make decisions that weren't healthy and to make decisions that weren't wise at all. And so for me in that period, I don't think I had the wisdom to balance that, right? Hey, yeah, I'm going to counseling, I'm unpacking some of these things, and I'm maybe going through something, I may be sad, but I'm equally responsible for these people over here. And so like it's not to say, hey, I'm going to just put up this facade and just smile all the time, right? But it is to say like I have to balance that reality. And so I think now the difference is, man, I may be sad and everything, which is why setting aside those times and those days where, I'm like, hey, no, I'm going to set this time aside for me, my self-care, whether I'm taking a walk or I go to the gym all the time, so that's not technically self-care for me anymore. But whether I am going to the gym, whether I'm going to the movies by myself, I'm doing things that are fulfilling or that are uplifting for me. So then I can, and I'm also sitting in those feelings and processing those things apart from, doing all of these things because and I talk about this quite often, the balance of doing and being. And for
mm,
me, it's important to just be, to not be okay, right? But to be before
yeah,
the feet of Jesus and allow him to wash over me with his word, to be in community and just to not always do. Because a lot of times with those who are in ministry and those like myself, like we see an opportunity to do, to teach, to serve, and we want to run to it. And it may not be the proper season or the proper time.
right.
Maybe you need a couple days, right? And so I've had to learn that balance of being and doing.
That definitely. Listen, oh, matter of fact, somebody was just, oh, somebody literally was, or maybe it was you that I was watching. I don't know, but somebody was literally talking about like what you were just talking about, just the difference between being and doing. Like people want to do so much, and you're not even realizing that you're burning yourself out to and uh doing yourself a disservice because you're not even giving your chance or giving yourself the opportunity to be anything because
Mhm.
you're doing so much. Like it's sit down,
Yeah,
sit still for a second,
yes.
and let him communicate with you for one to help guide you on what he's called you to or what your desires are and everything like that. Like we don't sit down long enough to
Yeah,
even, like you said, just be, you know.
1000%.
Um, and that I feel like that contributes a lot to why so many people deal with mental health issues, like being depressed or whatever the case may be, because we're constantly trying to do without, that sounded retarded, but without like just sitting still and being like said, it's okay to be, it's okay
Yeah.
to feel. And what I like to say, it's okay to feel just as long as you don't stay in that place.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Especially
Emotions all
if
the
it's the
time.
next place. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that was good to me. Sorry.
No, I take it and run with it because it's it'll literally save you a trip to figurative hell.
Yeah.
Because if you don't heed and you don't rest and you don't take time just to be, you risk losing all that is in your care. Because when we're exhausted, when we're mentally fatigued, when we're even spiritually fatigued or emotionally fatigued, we're not ourselves. Imagine being super tired physically and hungry physically. You're irritated. You're not
Yes, I
thinking
am.
the best way. Exactly, so like why would we try to push through spiritual fatigue or emotional fatigue or even mental fatigue? Why are we running on 4 hours figuratively of spiritual juice? It
Right.
doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
At all. And honestly, I was thinking about, um, like you were saying, like a lot of times we have this fatigue or whatnot. But if you have to kind of look at it like, I like to look at it as a bank account, right? You constantly putting out, doing stuff, constantly putting
Mhm.
out, like getting withdrawals and everything like that. If we're not sitting still, getting the proper rest, the proper downloads from, from the Holy Spirit, or just, time to gather our thoughts, you not getting those deposits, we are running off of a tank that's empty, or a bank account that's empty, dang near
Yeah,
going in the negative. How are you supposed to be sufficient with that? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you have to take that time to, one, be deposited into, not only by others, but by yourself. By, like you said, you like to go do things by yourself or whatever, even with friends. Like, just make sure we're doing something that gets those deposits within us. You know what I mean? To
absolutely,
fill that account per se.
absolutely.
But yeah, definitely.
Agree, agree.
So, um, if you, like I said, whatever you're comfortable with sharing, kind of tell us a little bit about your story. Like,
Mhm.
how did you come to realize that you had, I don't want to keep calling it mental health issues, but how did you come about to realize that, hey, mental health is a part of my story? Like,
Yeah. So, um, I guess it really starts when I was a kid. I mean, as a kid, I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and
mhm,
that for me was never fully unpacked. I went to therapy for the first time in 2018, and they attempted to diagnose me with severe anxiety, and I said, "Yeah, okay." And I took medication
right,
for a little bit. I was like, but I realized it wasn't the anxiety. They just tried to diagnose me with like the symptom. The anxiety was a symptom of like an attachment style that I had, because I would always
mm,
feel super super anxious when I felt like relationships weren't like producing kind of what I would hope they would produce. And I always wondered
yeah,
why I felt anxious, and it wasn't, oh, you just have anxiety. It was like, no, I'm not anxious about anything else. Like if I got a lot going on, yeah, I'm kind of like all over the place, but it's more specifically I'm anxious about like relationships. And I had to learn like, oh, I just have, that's my attachment style, because from it stems from feeling abandoned and feeling forgotten about as a child. And when you're a survivor of sexual abuse, those are some of the attributes that kind of go into that. And so
yeah,
um I grew up, obviously, and I became a pastor. Well, what's the best way to kind of quote unquote self medicate mental health issues? Help everybody else fix theirs. And I
right,
feel like, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't actually called to pastor. A lot of people are really, they just want to fix people. And so
right,
that's a platform for them to do that in versus
yeah,
saying, I need to
without going to school.
bingo. It's a platform for them to fix people.
Yeah,
And so for me, when I became a youth pastor, I also at the same time tried to pursue a relationship. And of course, those attachment styles are kicking in. I'm super, super anxious. I'm all over the place. But then I'm also unpacking a lot of my traumatic experience around the sexual abuse. And as I'm doing that, it's like deepening, like you said, right? I'm in a deficit at this point, like emotionally, spiritually, mentally, because even though as a pastor, I didn't have anyone cover me. And I think that's the word for somebody. Like pastors need pastors. Pastors need to be discipled. Pastors need people who are covering them and who are pouring into them. And
Definitely.
so,
They're people too.
at facts. So for me, like I didn't have that in place, and so I'm dealing with all of these different realities, sort of like by myself. I had people around me, but I began to isolate myself. And so that headed up into me beginning to act out, and I began to like go around sleeping around and things of that sort. And after like about 6 months, um, I went and I confessed, and I was sat down from that position, and then that's when I kind of went through that healing process and that phase of acknowledging and unpacking a lot of those different things.
Gotcha. I can definitely resonate with, part of your story. I'm definitely a survivor of sexual abuse as a kid too. Um, it's different when it's from family. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's supposed to be family's supposed to be that um safe gate, I like to call it sometimes, where you can run to when stuff like that happens outside of family. Not supposed to, of course, but
yeah,
if stuff
absolutely.
like that is to happen outside of family, you're supposed to run to family. But when it's within the family, it's definitely something different. So I definitely resonate with that as far as, having to like the feelings that come with that anxiety and everything like that. It's crazy. We actually have a lot of common when it comes to that. Um, I would say this is me diagnosing myself, but I would say I even had separation anxiety because of it. Because I don't know, it caused me to look at relationships differently. Like if a relationship falls apart, I'm like, okay, what did I do? Was I not good enough? Was I
Mhm.
this? And I don't know, it's just weird. Like I'm not a minister. They trying to at my local church trying to push me, not push me to it. They're not like no pressure, but they're trying to like say, hey, actually, this may be something you can do. I'm like, no, I just like to talk to people, maybe give them a hug or something,
That's ministry. That's
I
ministry.
mean, it is. It definitely is. And I don't know. I think God just called me to do this through this platform because I'm not the pulpit type of person unless I'm
Mhm.
singing background behind somebody. So, but um, that was something I struggled with trying to encourage, like even if it's over the phone or like at work or school or something when I was in college, trying to minister to someone else, knowing that actually you can't even cheer yourself up right now. Like, why are you trying to help somebody else?
Yeah,
But that's one thing I thank God for His grace because um, I'm learning and I've learned through therapy that God graced us to first of all know who we are in Him. We have the ability, like we think so low of ourselves sometimes. It's like God be like, "Hello, do you not realize that
yeah,
you're my child? Like
absolutely.
you have my genes. You know what I mean? Like you have so much power that you don't even know that you
Hmm.
can tap into." And like as far as feeling doubtful about myself and everything like that, I'm sometimes I just sit and look like, girl, what are you really doing? Like,
Yeah,
what are you really doing out here? You have so much that you could be doing, but you're focusing on, what could go wrong, what did go wrong, or any like all the negative stuff. And I just feel like it's important for no matter what it is that we went through, it's important for us to um essentially give ourselves grace as
yeah,
well. Um Forgive ourselves that too for not technically how can I say this? Not technically like, oh, you did this to yourself type thing,
hmm,
but you something happened to you. Not to say that it's okay, but you're okay now. You're still here. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So, you know, maybe you lingered in the feeling too long, and it got you to a place of like stagnation and whatever your purpose is in the world. And that could cause some feelings to linger and everything, that I don't know, just forgive yourself. It's
Yeah,
okay. You know. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Hopefully that helps whoever needed it. Um, but yeah, so definitely, definitely. It's encouraging to hear stories that you can resonate with, you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Um, that's, that's essentially how we, the good book
Come
says
on,
we overcome, A, by the blood,
come
and
on.
B, by the words of our testimony. If we don't have a test to get a testimony, like how are we helping people here?
Absolutely.
So definitely, that was very encouraging for me. So thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate that. So I want to move on to this single here that was released this past Friday. Kind of tell us about, like, how did we come about it? Tell us all about it.
Yeah. So, it started off just as a journal entry for me. Um, I was just in that darkest place, and I was thinking through how like I failed, but then my mentors and the people who were around me were just encouraging me how much like God really takes those broken pieces and creates a masterpiece out of it. And isn't that beautiful how like no matter how broken we feel, how messed up we feel, like he literally takes it and creates something so beautiful. Like
Yes.
what? So I didn't get the title of the song until I finished that second verse.
Mm,
And literally because I had the first verse, I mean the first verse like written and all of that stuff. And then the second verse, literally, it took me maybe about 6 months to actually finish the second verse. I was in Atlanta at the top of the Peachtree Hilton or something like that. And I'm like, man, okay, I got it. And then I was just like, man, I'm a masterpiece. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm a broken masterpiece. And it just hit. And so it started off just as a journal and it ended in something that was kind of like my goodbye to the season of grief that I had been going through. So it's
yeah.
sort of like that I learned what I learned in that season when I was the lowest.
Mm,
And yet I'm over that season when I was the lowest. Never
yeah.
to return to those things as if I'm experiencing them or I'm still living in the guilt and the shame of that, but to say I'm reflecting on that season. And that's all kind of through that song of mine called Broken
Mm,
Masterpiece.
dope. I love the concept. That's dope. I first of all, when I saw you post it, I was like, wait a minute, this okay, okay. Um, I created a playlist for people that um how can I say? Because I don't want to offend the Saints. You know, the Saints get offended real quick. But I created a playlist for people that want the secular feel, but Christian content. Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I love me some Jesus. Everybody knows that. But I
Mhm.
also I like trap. I like trap beats. Okay, I mean R&B.
Ain't no
So
thing.
like
Ain't no thing.
R&B is has my heart, okay? But I was like, okay, so how can I help people transition from the actual secular music, like content,
Mhm.
and put, Christian behind it? Well, I decided to make a playlist through one of my brands actually. Yes, this is Luxe Avenue, but I have a faith-based apparel line called Sanctified.
Come on.
Come on. So I created a playlist called Sanctified Heat because literally I found some heat. Like it's one guy on there that sings, what is his name? Oh, what is Fire, I believe. Sounds literally just like Chris Brown.
I'm gonna have to check them out. I'm
Literally.
gonna have to check your playlist out.
I'm gonna have to send it to you because yeah. But I said all that to say he's added on there.
Come
Make sure
on.
when you go through that playlist, make sure you look for just TEZZ. Okay. Mhm. Okay. He's part of that heat. But
It's
yes,
honor.
I congratulations to you for this new thing. I know you said it's not your first one, but um, yeah, just want to congratulations or congratulate you on releasing that. Yeah, this that's not for me. I don't even write anymore, to be honest. I need to get back into it because it was a form of release for me. Like you
Hmm.
said, it's like a journal entry. That was part of my process. Um, Now I just kind of like I'm talking to you. This is how I talk to God. Be like,
Yeah.
okay, so what are
What's
we doing?
happening, Lord? I
Okay,
don't get
like
it.
what's happening here?
Yeah.
What are we doing? But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, this conversation has been great. Y'all know I don't like to be before y'all long. I don't. Tez, do you have anything else you want to share with the people?
You can find me on IG at JUSS_TEZZ, or you can follow Infinite Grace at Infinite_Grace TAP. Also, find me on YouTube at Infinite Grace TV. We have a lot of stuff coming out. I really hope to be pushing out some apparel stuff as well
Yes.
by the summer. So super excited for that. If you want to come and tap in with me, just feel free to comment or feel free to hit me up in my inbox or anything, and yeah, we can tap in. I can't hear you. I think you're muted. There
There
we
we go.
go. You're
So my
good.
Wi-Fi just died, so hopefully I still sound okay.
No, you're good.
Okay, cool beans. So yes, definitely go and subscribe to his YouTube channel, Infinite Grace TV. Okay, make sure you follow him on Instagram, like you said. Go first of all, go purchase the single, then download. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how we do that.
Support.
We do that. Yes, support, support, support. So thank you, Says, for coming on to Lux Avenue, the TV. What am I saying? It's late. I'm tired.
It is late. It's 10 p.m.
Yes, Lux Avenue, the podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. Um, Listen, we're gonna have to do a part two or something. Because I just feel like there's a lot more to share.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. So we're gonna definitely have him back on. So again, those of y'all that are new, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share with everybody in your contacts. And of course, if you would like to purchase a sweatshirt or anything like that, you can go to Lux Avenue or shop at luxeavenue.com. I know you said you have apparel as well, right? Do you have a
Not
website?
rolled out yet.
Got
Yeah, it's not rolled out yet. Yeah.
Okay. Be on the lookout for his apparel and everything. And yeah, that's it, folks.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
all,
y'all.
folks. That's all, folks. But yeah, peace out. Thank you.
Peace.